Hey guys, Thixius here, bringing you another video today. This one we are going to be going over my Necromancer tank build. My tank build is called Metempsychose. It's the transmogrification from one soul, from one body to another. Let's go over the gear. The gear is very different from what most typically run for this, and ignore this on the front bar, it doesn't really matter. I am running a 5-piece Unchained set with a defending trait. The enchantment doesn't really matter. I just have absorb stamina on. Doesn't really matter though. Totally up to you. I'm running a infused tri-stack glyph shield. Sturdy would be a little bit better, but this works perfectly fine as well. I'm running a perfected ice staff. Need to gold this out sometime with a crusher enchantment on the back bar. Fantastic, just so I can make sure to put my blockade down, keep the buff going, to add a little bit of pen for the group. Not a little bit, it's approximately 4% group DPS increase. It's a fantastic thing to have. For our monster set this patch, I am actually running Sentinel of Ruckumgaza. Or Ruckumgams. With a sturdy and health enchantment on it. What this does, it has a 4% increase to our healing done, and whenever we heal ourselves or an ally, we spawn a Dwemer Spider that heals 1k every 1 second, as well as restoring 121 magicka and stamina to me and, well, to you and your allies within 5 meters of the spider. It can happen at once it takes every 1 second for 8 seconds. It can proc every 15 seconds, so you get about a 7-second cooldown on this. Roughly giving you like a 52.5% uptime on this if you're always healing yourself, which with some of our skills, which we'll go into soon, you almost always will be. It's fantastic. The other set we're running is Eben. Eben Kiris with a infused tri-stack glyph. May go for sturdy on this one as well due to the higher block cost this patch, but either trait is fine, it's personal preference. What Eben does essentially just gives us a little extra boost to our allies' health, making them have a little bit more of a comfortable time when it comes to running their recovery foods instead of health foods. I need to gold out the rest of the gear on this tank for it, so that way it gets to the full 1k instead of the 976 you see here. I'm also running a sturdy Ruckumgaz shoulder, sturdy belt, which I need to upgrade. Reinforced gauntlets, I need to transmute these to sturdy as well, would help a lot. But reinforced is not horrible. We are wearing sturdy pants with a tri-stack glyph, and ebon boots, which are sturdy. These are perfect traded for the ebon boots. A couple of these just have a little bit of off traits, but they work perfectly fine, as you guys have seen in my videos recently. It works totally fine, you have perfect sustain with them. We are running a 3-piece of Unchained jewelry, which is healthy with the magicka recovery glyph, as we don't need additional health or like any potion cooldown. But the magicka recovery makes it so we can always keep our sustain up for when we're on our back bar or using our heals. For the character sheet, one thing you'll notice is I'm running 37 in health with 27 in stamina. I am running the Bewitched Sugar Skulls as my food, which gives me a lovely little boost in like all my stats across the board. I'm sitting at 19.1k magicka, 49.3k health, 24.8k stamina, with 1481 magicka recovery, and a little over 1100 health recovery, almost 1200. And when we are buffed up, our resistances are rather great. We are sitting at 32.5k for both of them evenly, which puts us just barely below the threshold, but if we're ever hit by like combat prayer from our healers or anything, it's going to shoot us above the cap, so nothing really to worry about there. Running the Atronach Munda Stone for an extra 310 magicka recovery, just to help out with the sustain. And when it comes to skills, I'm running Pierce Armor, of course, to give the Major and Minor Breach, to give a significant increase to the group's DPS to the target. Heroic Slash, as Necromancer tanks, as I had mentioned in the previous, are the best, especially because of their ulti gen is absolutely insane. So every little bit of ulti gen added to it helps. Necrotic Potency for our self-heal as well as passive damage mitigation. It gives us a heal over time and 6 ultimate per corpse we eat. We have defensive stance to be our damage shield if we want one, but the main purpose of it is for that bottom effect to give the additional block mitigation as well as the block cost reduction. Hungry Scythe is it's also our flex spot for defensive stance, just so you know. You can put chains here or a like Resilient Flesh if you want a burst heal to help out with that. That will do for that. Typically you don't need to though, but with Hungry Scythe it is our burst heal. It deals 3.2k magic damage and heals a base of 7.4k and an additional 2.4k, almost 2.5k per target we hit with it. And it gives a heal over time after dealing damage for about 1k every 1 second for 5 seconds, which helps out immensely for adding to our heal over times for proccing Sentinel, among other things. We run Renewing Animation here, mainly because it's a wonderful thing to have, so we can get the passive from Living Death. With the Living Death, we get the mitigation. Well, essentially, we have a negative effect. We get 8% increase to our healing done. When we have a near-death experience, which is why we have that slotted, it gives us a 20% increase to our critical healing chance for healing abilities when we get below. As we like decrease in health, it gives us increased crit chance, which is fantastic. Corpse consumption, also whenever we're using a necrotic potency, this can proc it as well, but every 16 seconds when we consume a corpse or use a corpse, we get 10 extra ultimate. And whenever we have our Spirit Mender up, we are going to get an extra 200 Magicka and Stamina Recovery, just to show you what that's like. So if we pop those up, this is what our stats look like buffed for that. So 1.6k Magicka Recovery, almost 1.7k, and 800 Stamina Recovery. But for our back bar, which is why, as mentioned, we run this, that way we can get the additional benefit of that. On our back bar, we're running Inner Rage for our range taunt, Blockade of Frost to proc our Crusher enchantment, as well as give a 12k damage shield against projectiles for allies, and an immobilize them that hurts. We're running Spirit Guardian, so he can take 10% of our damage and heal us or the lowest HP ally. It's just a passive nice like safety net heal over time. It will not proc your Sentinel, but it is there so that way you can always keep an active heal on everything in the group. Makes it nice and comfy. Beckoning Armor will be our main source of Major Resolve. We just use every 20 seconds. It does create a corpse when it ends, which is fantastic. Even if you end it like 5 seconds early, it will produce a corpse. But essentially the best thing about it is once every 3 seconds it will chain pull a ranged enemy that hits us, so that way we don't ever have to worry about that. It like tends to mitigate most of it for us, but if we ever need a little extra, we'll put Silver Leash on our front bar. And our last skill here is Mortal Coil. What this does is it's going to give us a massive heal over time. It doesn't seem like a lot, but 12k over 12 seconds can add up quite a bit. It's actually one of my main heals. It does give us stamina even while we're blocking, equivalent to about 200 recovery. I believe when I did my math it was like I think it was 199-ish. So a little bit off of the 200 like recovery equivalency, but it is still extremely useful. It's just that every little bit counts. And it does give us 3% more healing when we're on that bar using it. And we have Glacial Colossus on our back bar, just so we can provide additional major vulnerability uptime, giving 15 seconds of major vulnerability if all 3 smashes hit. Of course, you can run Aggressive Warhorn, which I have done for several of the VKHM like groups I posted in the chat. Not in the chat, on the server. Not the server. Man, I am stumbling on my words here on YouTube. But when it comes to the passives, the main things we want is you can get Unnerving if you want. These are just kind of random things to grab. But you want to make sure to get all your passives except for the pen. You don't need that, but it never hurts to have it. For Bone Tyrant, we want pretty much all these skills. They all have great uses. This is our AoE Root and Biter Babe. It's our Agony Totem for minor protection and a stun, which also gives a synergy for AoE minor vulnerability. We also want all of our Living Death passives. Expunge and Modify is fantastic for sustain if you're getting debuffed a lot. It's commonly used in PvP, but it is fantastic. You don't really need this skill, but it is nice to have it for an AoE burst heal if you want it. Resilient Flesh is fantastic, and does put a debuff on us, which makes us heal more actually. And with Sword and Board, Power Bash, you don't need that skill, but everything else here, those bottom two you don't need, but you want Pierce Armor, Heroic Slash, Defensive Posture. You want all the Sword and Board passives, of course. For Destruction Staff, which I can actually allocate my last point in there, you want all the passives, including Tri-Focus. And you can get Weakness to Elements and morph it to Elemental Susceptibility if you want, or Ellie Drain, that's up to you. But we want Crushing Shock if we ever need to help interrupt things, as well as Elemental Blockade, of course. In this build, we run all heavy armor, so you only want all the heavy armor passives. You don't need to worry about medium armor or light armor. Fire's Guild abilities, of course, just have Silver Leash. You can morph Circle Protection into the Healing Ring if you want, but not needed. Mage's Guild, we do get Spell Symmetry and the Mage Adept and Everlasting Magic, so that way they have longer effects if we want to use them. But the main purpose of this is just to give the additional cost and be mag return if we want. We don't need balance because our Beckoning Armor is much stronger. With Sigic Order, you can get Accelerate if you want like a major expedition on cast, but I only use that if I'm like porting back into a run. Deep Thoughts is nice if you want to run that, just to have the passive sustain. The only issue is the account locks you into that, so that's why I don't run it all the time. For Undaunted, I don't know why I haven't morphed this. Technically you should go for Overflowing, but in most cases Sanguine is more than enough. So I'm just going to throw on Sanguine there. You want Inner Rage, of course, for the ranged taunt. Bone Shield, which you can morph to Bone Surge for VCR if you're going to be in the group most of the time. Necrotic Orb, don't worry about that. If you want to put it on to throw orbs, you can. Totally up to you. Undaunted Command gives you 4% of all your resources back every time you activate a synergy, which is awesome. And of course we get the 2% increase from having Undaunted Metal to all of our main stats. Of course we want Aggressive Warhorn. You can get Barry if you like with the 2x Magicka Aid, so you can get 10% Magicka Recovery if you'd like, but that's up to you. We are Nord as mentioned, so we get the extra health, frost resistance, as well as immunity to chilled. We get a 15% increase to the duration of any drinks we consume. We get 1.5k max stamina and generate an extra 5 ultimate every 10 seconds when we take damage. Never a bad thing. We're ulti-gen kings as necro tanks, so every ulti we can get is more than happy. And we get 2.6k more resistance from our Nord passives. And from Alchemy, we're only wanting to get the medicinal use passive. You can go ahead and get the provisioning ones. I have yet to do that on this tank, but you definitely can if you want. But yeah, I mean, it's in my necro tank. I will have another video showing the clear of Falgrave and HM again in Flames of Ambition, which I have done now. But I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a super fun build. It's by far my favorite tank in Flames of Ambition. I think it's the best tank. I think the close second, of course, is Warden, as mentioned in my previous video of what tank should you run in Flames of Ambition. But for me, can't go wrong with a Necro. It's super powerful. It does tons of mitigation. It's got the highest damage mitigation across the board this patch, and it's just super reliable. No, you can't really go wrong with it. But yeah, well, I hope you guys enjoy. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to share them below. Appreciate it if you guys subscribe to the channel. I've been seen a lot of growth, and I really appreciate the community supporting me in this. Share the content. I would very much so appreciate that. But if anything, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And if you guys don't mind checking out twitch.tv/FoxRunGaming. He's a friend of mine who's currently trying to work his way to 1,000 followers on Twitch. If you guys wouldn't mind checking him out, I'm sure he would appreciate that. But besides that, guys, I'll be uploading the video showing this tank in action as of this patch. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you.